this is not just good news. This is, by Congress standards, a miracle. Because in 2019 and for a long time afterwards, it seemed that Telangana was lost. That Telangana would be a BRS versus BJP battle. That the Congress was down and out. And that's frankly what it seemed like till the Karnataka results. T.S. Sudhir, from the low of the Hyderabad municipal elections, the 2019 polls, till before Karnataka, the Congress looks as if they've lost their cadres, they've lost their leaders, to find their mojo and hit it out of the park in style in Gachibowli.
Absolutely. In fact, we used to always say for the BJP, the gateway to South India is Karnataka. Now, Congress, in its newest avatar, Karnataka was the gateway, and Telangana will be the second gateway to the southern part of India. But yes, I'm not very surprised, because given the kind of anti-incumbency that one saw in rural Telangana, the results are not really surprising. The surge in the BJP's numbers also would actually gladden the BJP. The number of seats, it may seem less, but in terms of vote share, they've almost doubled from the last assembly elections. So that would be good news for the BJP as well. For the BRS, renominating so many MLAs, making them candidates once again, that has cost the party dear. Plus the entire feeling that the chief minister is inaccessible, their MLAs who are both inaccessible, arrogant, as well as corrupt. All these perception matters really affecting
Ashok
the BRS.
Malik, why did there was anti-incumbency? One of these two parties had to gain, and the Janta did the rest. Why did the BJP not gain at the expense of the BRS and cash in on the anti-incumbency?
Look, we could always go into the various factors, including the lack of a pan-Telangana leader, which is still to emerge in the BJP. Yes, you're quite right that there was a certain momentum post-2019, which the BJP lost out on. In recent months, some people who had joined the BJP from other parties started going back to those parties.
Including the campaign committee chief?
In Telangana.
Manifesto committee.
But there's one thing I'd like to point out. We are now headed for possibly a post-euphoria of Telangana creation polity, a post-KCR's peak polity. I'm not saying he'll disappear, but it's the 9 seats, I think, is BRS won in 2019 Lok Sabha election, if I'm not mistaken, out of 20, are now up for grabs between BJP and Congress. They're vulnerable there.
In fact, the BJP will hope to make gains in the Lok Sabha, given these numbers. That's where they will look for vulnerabilities. But I think what has happened is, call it the 10-year itch. Since the great MGR, the MGR is the only southern chief minister to win 3 consecutive elections. KCR was hoping to do so, and you would have bet on him 1 year ago. If you looked at the politics of Telangana
Where do you think he went wrong?
I think he just repeated too many candidates. If you look at KCR's own popularity, while our polls may show he wasn't as popular as he was 5 years ago, I travelled and didn't see any anger against KCR, the individual. His welfare schemes work. He has some very, very original welfare schemes. Raitu Bandhu is a scheme which has been ahead of its time, well before Kisan Samman Nidhi that the Prime Minister initiated. Some of his other schemes in irrigation and for housing, for women's development have all been path-breaking. The problem, Rahul, is that when you become this isolated, larger-than-life figure, you perhaps feel that your charisma is enough to win any and every election.
But Rajdeep, don't you think here you also somewhere down the line need to give a little bit credit to Rahul Gandhi? For example, he's held over 40 rallies in Telangana, double the amount that he's held in Rajasthan or in Madhya Pradesh. He was popular during the Bharat Jodo Yatra. There might be a Revant Reddy, but there is also Rahul Gandhi, which is somewhere on the ticket in Telangana.
If you recall, I said this about a half an hour ago, and you've got to give credit to the Congress leadership.
Sonia Gandhi's only campaigned in Telangana, not anywhere else.
She didn't even, she didn't campaign as such.
Went for a rally.
No, ma'am. The fact is, Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi Vadra campaigned, no doubt.
And he is
but
popular.
I do believe at the end of the day that state elections are eventually won by the quality of your state leadership. The national leadership gives you an incremental factor, no doubt about it. But the difference, Rahul, between the way the Congress did Telangana with Madhya Pradesh.
Rahul Gandhi wasn't allowed to campaign.
Sunil Kanogulu a year ago was given charge of Telangana. KCR, in fact...
But he came only after the Karnataka elections.
No, he started even before that. A year ago, the preparation was started. There was even an attempt to raid his office. You will recall, FIRs were being filed by KCR's party. The Congress, post-Karnataka, got access to resources, which is important in a state like
Telangana. They'll have even more.
That's right, very important. and the Congress got its act together and allowed Sunil, Revant Reddy and others to work relatively autonomously. Rahul Gandhi, I maintained earlier, the Bharat Jodo Yatra, if it has had a sort of, in public perception, the recall value seems much higher south of the Vindhyas than north of the Vindhyas, and it is translating into votes, importantly, as we saw in Karnataka as well.
No, but there is no, one second. Just before we get carried away with the hype. Unlike that question which we asked, and we'll do it next time, how many people voted the way they did because of Prime Minister Modi in a state like Rajasthan? It's as much as 17% of the overall population, not just the BJP votes, went the way they did because of Prime Minister Modi. Here, Rahul Gandhi is one of the factors. He's not the main factor. So let's not get carried away.
You can't take away. But he is a factor, Rahul.
Of course.
Where in states like Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan, he's no factor.
No, you see, you can...
But I'm
a lot of
saying
his
it's not
rallies were cancelled in Madhya Pradesh.
Let's, for example,
but here,
take Chhattisgarh or Madhya Pradesh or Rajasthan. The pull of a Modi is much more than the pull of Rahul Gandhi.
Rahul, we're not comparing a Modi to a Rahul Gandhi.
As if Rahul Gandhi's hit the ball out of the park at the
hyping him up, but you have to give him credit.
The guy who's done it.
But give him credit, that's you.
Let Rahul
Nobody's hyping him up. Let me make 2 points on this. See, I think Congress has also realized that in southern India, they have higher chance. So even Bharat Jodo Yatra spent many more days in southern India. Second, they have been organizationally stronger in the post-1990s Indian politics in the southern part of India compared to the northern part of India.
But in Telangana, they largely lost their organization.
No, but see, even after that kind of fiasco, creating 2 states, even in 2018, they had a 30% vote share, right? This election was tough for them because they had to get a 8 to 10% of swing, which is not easy. It's not that it doesn't happen. So in some ways, yes, Congress, I think multiple factors worked in favor of Congress. Bharat Jodo Yatra, Karnataka winning, Revant Reddy, Kongalu team working, and then BJP also not pulling up on what they were expecting.
Right. So we see a lot of this from Congress echo chamber in the weeks and days to come, seeking to attribute of this victory to Rahul Gandhi?
You know, with due respects, most state elections in India, with some exceptions, are won largely because of state organizations, state leaders and state factors. The national leadership plays a role. I'm not denying that in terms of organizing, facilitation, 1 or 2 big rallies or speeches. But in most cases, it is the state or politics that matters. Even here, I'm not taking credit away from Rahul Gandhi. He is the leader of the party, fair enough. And the Bharat Jodo Yatra certainly showed that traditional Congress voters, especially minorities, were consolidating behind him. And we saw that.
But that doesn't show in the polls.
If I have one quarrel with Pradeep's numbers, I think perhaps the Muslim factor in the Congress's victory is being underestimated.